This podcast is brought to you by iPlayHockey.ca. iPlay is the leading hockey insurance provider to coaches, camp instructors, spring and summer hockey leagues, and tournaments across Canada. If you need insurance for hockey, iPlay has you covered. iPlay also provides hockey players and coaches with a wide range of free tools, drills, and skills in their drill vault to enhance on-ice performance, and they provide crucial off-ice knowledge as well. So if you need insurance for a hockey team, league, or camp, or if you just want to teach your kids some new drills, head on over to iPlayHockey.ca and check out their new website.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 246 of the Boys in the Booth podcast. Cody Abrams and Melbourne back with you after a great summer. Hope you had a great one as well. Hockey is back. We are back, and it's just terrific to get going again with you guys. We usually don't talk about how our weekends were or any of that kind of stuff, but just since we're getting going here again, it's been a while. How was your summer, fellas?
It was the summer of weddings for me. I had 6 of them this summer. I had one yesterday. That's why my brain is a bit mush for this first episode back. So apologize for that right away. But fun summer. Kind of something on the schedule every weekend, lots of golf, so no complaints here.
For sure. Busy summer. And we were just talking before we got going here. Like, we are so excited to be back, especially now that we're partnered with iPlayHockey.ca. That's through a really good friend of ours, Andrew Pesky. He'll come on the show one of these times here in the coming weeks whenever he's available. Of course, Andrew is playing pro hockey over in Denmark, and I was told that he got the captaincy this year, boys, for his team.
Hey,
so that's
awesome.
big. So he'll be on to talk about iPlay, everything that we're doing in partnership with them once he has a moment in his schedule. So there's that going on. We're really excited to be back. All things considered, the summer was really good. But as we were saying before we started recording here, a little bit banged up after a weekend here. I took the Friday off and went on a golf trip, and so still recovering from that. But so excited to be back and talking about the Pacific Division. Guys, hockey is like a month away. I cannot wait. Regular season, that is. We're going to get preseason games pretty soon here in a couple weeks. So really looking forward to it. Glad to be back. How about you, Harp? How was your summer?
Good summer, busy, went by too fast. I mean, it always does, but no, it was a really good summer, and I feel like I'm banged up from the entire summer, but we're back in it here, and prospects games going on over the weekend, and preseason action coming up, and the regular season is not too far away at all. So love the fact that hockey is back and all of that, and excited to get going. So let's do it. Let's fire up the intro here, Chad, for Core 4 stories to kick it off.
Core 4.
Core 4.
Core 4.
Core 4.
Core 4.
Core 4.
Core 4 is
Core 4.
Core 4.
Love that intro, as always.
Importantly, Harp, no more Core 4 in Toronto. So I'm glad that we made this little intro to sort of, remember it by, because the Core 4 is no more. So, but it's going to live on through our podcast. So there you go, Core 4 Stories intro.
You're not going to cry, are you? You're not going to get emotional. Maybe when we talk about the Leafs, when we do the Atlantic preview, or...
Well, we are talking about the Vegas Golden Knights this episode, so we'll see.
Exactly. All right, before we get to our first division that we are going to be doing our standings predictions for, the Pacific, as we always start with, we'll get into Core 4 stories here. And we've got some bangers for this first edition of the year of Core 4 stories, guys, starting with, of course, the big star in Minnesota. We'll see if he ends up staying with the Minnesota Wild. Kirill Kaprizov, of course, turning down a reported contract worth $16 million a season for 8 years from the Minnesota Wild. That was the extension that was rumored to be offered from Bill Guerin and company of the Minnesota Wild to Kirill Kaprizov. He has turned that down. Elliot Friedman confirmed that as well in the latest 32 Thoughts. Let's start there.
I find that so hard to believe, because who turns down that much money? The most money ever offered in the NHL's history, and you turn it down. It's I don't know. I find that shocking, and I couldn't believe it. I didn't believe it at first when it was just Frank Seravalli, but I guess now that Elliot Friedman confirmed it, that's insane. And you got to get moving on trading Kirill Kaprizov if that's the case, because you what the return is going to go down when it becomes crunch time on the end of this contract. And if you have a guy who is that openly is just saying that he doesn't want to be with this team, if he's turned down that much money, he doesn't want to be there. So you got to move him and get as much as you can in return, which is going to be tough because he is quite the player.
Yeah. Well, my question to all of this to Kirill is, what does he think he's going to get? Like, what does he think a fair number is?
I don't think it's money. I don't think it's a number thing. I think he wants to win. Like, that's the only explanation I can come up with, because he's turning down $3 million more than Draisaitl. Like, that's
well, two, right? $2 million a year more.
Yeah.
Dry's at 14, right? And it was 16.
Yeah, I thought
that's correct.
I had him at 13 in my head.
Yeah.
No,
but still,
right.
to get the biggest contract ever, agents have always played the percentage of the cap card. I don't think that's going to fly anymore. Like, we've already heard rumblings, and then you see that this contract gets turned down. Like, clearly teams aren't just going to bend like they used to in a flat cap world. Now that the cap has skyrocketed and is going to over the next, 3 to 5 years or whatever, we already know for the next 3 years what the cap's going to be. I don't think agents are going to be able to get away with the percentage of the cap argument anymore. I don't think teams are going to let that fly.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. And, I think other than the fact that Minnesota is not really seen as a contender, they make the playoffs, but they get bounced in the first round. Typically, they haven't won a playoff series in some time. I think there's that factor, like you mentioned, Case, but also, and this is something that Elliot mentioned, there's got to be another team out there who's saying like 16 million a season, we can up that, whether it's the Chicago Blackhawks or, whoever it is. I think that is a factor as well in all of this.
For sure.
Definitely. All right, fellas, item number 2 here for Core 4 Stories, and Connor McDavid. Told you guys that this was going to be a banger edition. We go from one star to the next, and the greatest hockey player on the planet, Connor McDavid, needs a new contract. He's entering the final year of that 8-year deal that pays him $12.5 million a season. Kind of a surprise that he still doesn't have an extension done yet with the Edmonton Oilers, and he's been very open about the fact that he's open to everything, and it's about this year and winning this year in Edmonton and that sort of thing. So are you guys surprised that a deal is not done yet? And when it gets done, how long do you think the term on that contract is going to be?
Yeah, I don't know. You have to expect that Edmonton's doing everything possible to get him signed right now, because obviously that's going to shape the future of their team. He's the best to ever do it, so they need him around. It's scary that he hasn't signed. I think that everyone's getting a bit nervous about him walking after this contract, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to see him go in free agency. If he's leaving Edmonton, I want to see some ridiculous trade that we're talking about 15 years from now, how, the last piece in the McDavid deal just retired or just got moved or whatever, and you see that flow chart of every player affected and every team affected. I want to see that, but I'd really like him to stick around in Edmonton and win a cup there. That would be the best. But talk about 16 million a year. Like, how much is he going to demand? And whatever it is, just give it to him.
Yeah. What's the max allowable under the CBA? 20%, right? So like, that's what he should get. He won't, because he's also the type of player to say, hey, listen, like, you need space to build around me.
Yeah.
The thing is, for McDavid, do you trust the Oilers to do that? They've got back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, which is pretty good. That's better than, most other teams can say, but they haven't been able to get over the hump. They haven't addressed some major glaring holes on the team, which I'm sure we might talk about today. The goaltending being one of them, in my opinion. I think if you get a goalie, you get McDavid for at least another, 3 to 5 more years. I don't think he'll sign 8. I think that's an impossible ask with the cap going up as quickly as it can. I think, or as quickly as it is, rather. I think if he wanted to maximize his contract earnings, he'd probably sign like a 2 or 3 year deal. But I also don't really see him doing that. I think it'll probably be in the 3 to 5 range. But also at this time, no one really knows what he's thinking. And some of those comments, like if that was Austin Matthews, who like admittedly is not Connor McDavid, but he's still a pretty good player. If that was him in the final year of his contract, saying the things that McDavid is saying about Edmonton and his future and possibly not wanting to stay, and he just has to figure some things out and make decisions, it's like, oh my God, I would be so nervous as an Oilers fan if that was happening. Like it's scary. But at the same time, McDavid is the type of guy who I kind of believe him. Like when he says he's going to mull it over, and then I really think he's just going to sign in Edmonton, and they'll fix the goaltending situation and he'll sign there. That's what I think.
Yeah, we're obviously going to get into more about the Oilers when we get into our preview here in a minute, but I do believe McDavid when he says that his intent and his goal is to win in Edmonton. I do believe that. Back-to-back losses in the Stanley Cup Finals against the same team, and technically they did regress last season. They were a shot or two away in a Game 7 2 years ago. And then this year, they just simply ran out of gas and got dominated by a Panthers team and ended up losing one game shorter in a Game 6. So he's going into this season, I think, angry, and he's put the Oilers on notice. And, I'll go back to Elliot Friedman again, who explained it really well. It's the fact that he wants to see what the plan is moving forward. Where is that next wave of guys coming through in Edmonton that is going to make us a sustainable contender every single year? Because I think it's safe to say that that's kind of up in the air right now, right, fellas? And we're going to get into that in a minute when we talk about Edmonton. But all of those factors in there certainly are involved. And but I do believe McDavid when he says that he wants to win in Edmonton. But yeah, I mean, if you're an Oilers fan, you can't help but being a little bit nervous right now. So moving on to our final two items, and they both involve the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think you guys know where I'm going with this one. We'll start with Sidney Crosby and his future in Pittsburgh. Obviously, the Penguins are kind of the one team that is trying to get worse. They're not really focused on improving and getting better. They would like to have that number one pick, I think, in the 2026 draft and get a shot at Gavin McKenna. And as they should. The cup window is long closed, 3 years without playoffs, and so all the questions are starting to come up about Crosby's future in Pittsburgh. How do you guys see this playing out?
I would really like Sidney Crosby to stay in Pittsburgh. He has his cups. He's won before. I'd like to see him play it out, retire there, extend his legacy, because for me, and, the teams I followed growing up, I just sit here and I think about Martin Brodeur in a St. Louis Blues jersey, and I gag a little bit. I think about Daniel Alfredsson in a Detroit Red Wings jersey, and I go,
that's a good one, too. Yeah.
He didn't, that just, it hurts. So I'd like to see Crosby stick around longer. If he hadn't won a cup by now, I would be saying trade him tomorrow, but I'd like to see him stick it out.
Yeah, Matt Sundin to Vancouver is another one that came to mind for me, which is just, what are we doing? Like ugly. But scored the shootout winner against the Maple Leafs in the regular season that year, and the crowd cheered for him, even though he scored against the Leafs. It was an incredible moment. But yeah, for Sid, I think he probably stays. I think that's the type of guy he is, really. Like, I'd like to see him go, honestly, Casey. So I'm like on the other side of this. I'd like to see him go to Colorado and tear it up with Nate, but I just think it's a far-fetched idea. And I'm not going to believe anything anyone says about the situation until a deal happens or Sid talks about it himself, because there's been so much misinformation about this whole thing. And I don't really have time for it until Sid says something concrete or a trade actually happens. I think he's staying put.
he has said something, but even what he says is just like so generic. He's like, yeah, like the rumors are fair. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sid. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, I am with you, Case. I think that he should stay in Pittsburgh because you don't see a lot of guys nowadays play their entire careers with one franchise. And I think that that is something that would be really cool to see, especially for a guy like that. And I think it's something that's important to him. And the other thing, let's say they get lucky, they get the number one pick, and they get to grab Gavin McKenna, potentially a generational talent. I mean, who better than Sidney Crosby to have mentor that young man and pass the torch? I think it would be a beautiful thing, and I think it would be a cool thing for Crosby as well. And here's another factor as well. We could be seeing an ownership change in Pittsburgh again. And the reason why this is important, guys, is because it could be going back to the old regime with Ron Urkel and Mario Lemieux. Do you not think that when that happens, Lemieux is going to do everything he can to get Crosby to stay in Pittsburgh, even if that is a conversation? I just think that that's a factor as well.
Totally.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, Sidney Crosby has gained enough respect over his career that I feel as though if he does ask for a trade and gets moved to, cup chase before the end, no Pittsburgh fan is going to be upset. They're going to totally respect that decision and be fine and happy to see him succeed because that's the type of guy he is and that's the type of respect he has in this league. Whereas, I think there's a lot of people that were pretty grumpy about some of those other moves we mentioned.
For sure. And last thing, I know you want to move on to the next one. Harp, last thing, they might be good in like 3 years. And Sid could theoretically still be around in his last season or two on a team that can make the playoffs. Like if they get a number one overall pick, they already have like a pretty good group of young prospects. I guess like Malkin's going to be done and Rust is probably going to be traded and, they're going to probably tear it down to the studs even more. But in 2-3 years, like rebuilds can happen fast if you get lucky, so.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they get a guy like Gavin McKenna, they may decide to want to speed it up a little bit. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. And our last item for Core 4 Stories, guys, it involves the Penguins. You know where I'm going with this. Marc-Andre Fleury offered a PTO from the Penguins. I mean, this is just awesome. The team that he started his career with really made a name for himself. First ballot Hall of Famer all the way. And this is something that I did kind of think about in the background after he played at the World Championships this past summer. And it's something that I think a lot of us didn't really think about, but this is perfect and really a job well done by the Penguins to make this happen. And we'll see where this goes. So just thoughts on that to wrap up the segment.
Yeah, the perfect way to end his career. When you first sent me that and I read it, barely paying attention, I was like, holy Brett Favre, like, can we just retire already? But I then read the caption and was like, oh yeah, perfect. That's the best way they could end this.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Nothing more to be said. Love the flower.
Yep. How can you not, right? Love them.
Exactly.
BetterHelp is the paid partner of this video. The new year is a blank space for you to write a new story. BetterHelp makes it more convenient to get you started. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy more comfortable and convenient. They carefully make sure therapists on the platform are well qualified and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. With over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a platform you can trust. Your next chapter starts today. Get 10% off your first month of BetterHelp online therapy at betterhelp.com/boysinthebooth in paid partnership with BetterHelp.
We interrupt this podcast to tell you about one of our favorite partners, Sign Up Expert. If you're a sports bettor, whether brand new, casual, or hardcore, listen very carefully because this ad is for you. Guys, line shopping for the best odds matters, and that's why any profitable sports bettor needs to be using multiple sports books to maximize their profits. Thankfully, there has never been a better time to get signed up, and we are here to connect you with the best promotions industry-wide. When you use our link at signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth, you can get access to all of the top sportsbooks in your region, along with a review of each platform and its unique benefits. Most importantly, all of these sportsbooks have valuable sign-up offers for new users. And when you register through our link, you will automatically receive the top offer at each one, allowing you to start line shopping with an enhanced bankroll. Guys, it's simple. When you use multiple sportsbooks, you ensure that you can always access the best available odds, which is key to successful and profitable sports betting. So, if you want to take advantage of these incredible benefits and support our brand at the same time, please consider signing up for your next sportsbook through our link in the description below, signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. If you're planning on signing up for a new sportsbook anyways, you might as well use our link and support the boys. So, one more time, that's signupexpert.com/boysinthebooth. This podcast is sponsored by SeatGeek, the absolute best ticket app out there. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets, making it quick and easy to get the best deals to tickets at your favorite sporting event. SeatGeek does this awesome thing where they score each ticket out of 10 based on its value, so you know whether you're getting a good or a bad deal. Last time I got tickets to see the Devils play, I first saw red tickets. I waited it out, monitored the price in-app, and once I saw green, I pulled the trigger. SeatGeek makes it that easy. And here's the best part. SeatGeek has completely hooked us up. Boys in the Booth listeners get $20 off their first purchase on SeatGeek with the promo code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Click the link in our description to download the app, and remember to get your discounted tickets using the code BOYSINTHEBOOTH in all caps. Get great seats for a fraction of the cost with SeatGeek.
Okay, fellas, that does it for our first Core 4 stories of the season, and that was a doozy. Absolutely. Let's get into our projections for the Pacific Division, and we will start with the number one team in the Pacific last season, the Vegas Golden Knights. 50 wins, 110 points. They were first in the division, lost in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs last season to the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, Stanley Cup champions in 2023, and looking to get back there. Mitch Marner is now in the mix. $12 million a season times 8 years. They get him from the Maple Leafs. He'll be riding shotgun with Jack Eichel, and then some minor moves on top of that. Nick Hague goes out the door to Nashville. They weren't able to pay him. Obviously, they get a pretty good return for Hague, in my opinion. Colton Sissons and Jeremy Lauzon. Can't really think of any big moves other than those. So thoughts on the Golden Knights and where you fellas have them?
Well, so do we want to do like how we did last year where we do a ranking? Like, so if Harp, you go first, are you picking the Golden Knights to finish first in the division, or did you just bring them up first because you wanted to in that order? Like, what's
I brought them up first, and I think they're going to be first in this division.
Yeah, I think we should do it that way. Chad, you listened to last year's episode earlier. Did we do this exact same thing where we
probably did. I
feel like every year we start going in one direction and we're like, wait, don't we just want to do what we did last year?
Yeah.
So,
I think 2 years ago we did that, and last year I think it was smooth. But yeah, so Harp, if you're picking Vegas number one, then we'll go like Case gets the next pick, then me, then we'll send it back to you. We'll just alternate because we have to create a top 8 ranking collectively.
That's right. I think we just have to agree on the ranking.
Well, okay, so we've done that in the past too, but those episodes were, I think, 2 hours long because we were arguing about where it should go. So I think Harp just picks number one, Case, you pick number 2, and then you can let it be known on the record if you disagree. But that's the pick that we're going with. So,
because I want it on the record, my 1 to 8.
Oh,
at the end of the episode. Yeah.
You always get it on the record. Okay.
Yeah.
So
sounds good.
Hart picked Vegas at number 1 and sent it to Case. Case, thoughts on Vegas. That's what we'll do.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I also had Vegas number 1 here. They're like I'm glad we argued about that to be agreeing right away. But scoring up and down the forward lines, like top to bottom. Now they add in Mitch Marner. There's going to be even more offense coming out of Vegas thanks to him. He's going to be such a key piece here. That top six just ridiculous now. People saying that the D core is falling off a bit, but I really like it. You got 2 puck movers, and then you have 4 meat and potato guys who are going to play safe and physical, and you know exactly what you're going to get out of them. They know the forwards can score, so they're going to let their defense play defense, which is a weird concept, I know, in the NHL. They just need to continue to get league average goaltending out of Aiden Hill, and Akira Schmid is a decent young backup. So if they get that, they'll run away with this division.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say run away, because I actually had the Oilers taking the first pick, but I could be convinced here because Vegas is really good, and I think they only got better, like you guys mentioned. They're going to score a ton. Case, like you said, top 5 in goals for last year. Hill was really good last year as well. I think he finished 15th in goals saved above expected. And, so now they're adding more playmaking ability with Marner. You got to think that Eichel will get a few more goals. Maybe Hurdle will get a few more goals, Dorofiev, whoever it may be. Like, they are pretty nasty top to bottom. But my one concern, like you alluded to, Case, was the defense. Without Pietrangelo there, I just think it kind of looks a little thin. But I'm totally convinced that they could finish first in this division if everybody's healthy, which obviously has been a problem for Vegas over the past few years. But without the, cap circumvention, with the new rules being put in place, I don't think, anybody's going to be out for an entire year and then come back in the playoffs. So I think I could definitely see them finishing in first here.
Pietrangelo was certainly a big loss on the blue line, and his career appears to be in jeopardy. There's a guy that's won a Stanley Cup. He's put on, a lot of miles on that body of his, but I still think that there is still enough on that blue line. And Lozon led the league in hits a couple of years ago. Like, that's a nice add in your bottom pair, and he can play up and down your lineup as well. So Vegas at number 1 there. And Case, who do you have at number 2, sir?
Well, it sounds like starting to align more with Chad here. I have the Edmonton Oilers finishing second. I kind of doubted their situation there in the Pacific Division last year. I think I took LA ahead of them, but this year I'm reverting back. Edmonton, I know they're seen as not really a regular season team. They just need to get in the playoffs and good things happen, but I like what they've changed here. I think that they're planning on infusing some youth into this lineup, which is always a good thing. Isaac Howard is obviously a great grab, and I'd like to see what Savoy can do playing with one of or multiple of McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman. I think he's going to be a great playmaker. So he's yet to be able to prove that in the NHL, and I'm excited for that. The D-core, as always, leaves a bit to be desired, but they continue to prove us wrong. Each year we say that. So I'm just going to move past the D-core and look between the pipes. I think Stuart Skinner is a bit overhated at this point.
I agree.
Yes, they did need to. Yeah, the biggest hater is in the room with us right now. But they did need to address this. They didn't. So he's going to really have to step up and live up to his potential of, possibly being a star goalie. He had that tag on him a long time ago, but he's struggled here and there, especially in the regular season. So his ability this season is going to be a crucial factor in them finishing second place in this division.
Yeah, like I said, I picked this team to finish first. I actually like their blue line, I think, more than I have in the past. Looking at it and not seeing a guy like Cody Ceci, who now is overpaid in LA, and we'll talk about that blue line. But looking at it, like Ekholm, obviously so stabilizing. Bouchard, obviously he's going to be, a really highly paid guy for the next 15 years if he keeps putting the puck in the net like he does from the back end. Nurse, sure, he has his struggles. He's not perfect, but as a number 3, like, that's fine, and Wallman really stepped up last year and, can do other things that, a guy like Nurse necessarily can't do. So it's not bad seeing those two paired. And then Emberson and Kulak, again, like it's not a perfect pair, but I like it more than I have in the past. So I don't have as much of a problem with their back end as I used to. And Case, you mentioning the injection of youth, that was like my top note here. I'm really excited to see what Ike Howard can do. Really excited to see what Matthew Savoy can do. And also, not necessarily a youthful player, but another addition is Mangiapane. Excited to see what he can do. He had, I think, just 28 points in 81 games last year for Washington. But back in 2022 for Calgary, he had 55 points, and that was his career high. So you got to think, I mean, I know we've tried this with like a million different guys in Edmonton. You got to think, though, putting him on a top line or at least getting maybe some power play time or, some mixed in shifts with one of those top two guys, McDavid or Draisaitl, you got to think that he's going to be closer to a 55-point guy than a 28-point guy. So
he's got the legs to keep up with McDavid. So I'd like to see that combo.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what they do up front with the youth here, because Harp, as you mentioned, when we were talking about McDavid possibly not wanting to re-sign in Edmonton, that's one of the concerns, is that the window for this team is closing. But now, if they prove that some of the youth is actually impactful, then maybe that will make McDavid stay. So excited to see what they do. Number 2 is fine for me in this division for Edmonton.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, to that point as well, I mean, they do have a lot to prove when it comes to, the next wave of guys coming through. And boy, oh boy, like we go back to losing Holloway and Broberg. Like, wouldn't you love to have those two guys right now in your lineup for the next 10 to 15 years? Absolutely. But now, Howard, Hobey Baker winner is definitely a good bet. Savoy looks like a good player. He was never going to get this kind of opportunity in Buffalo. And a couple of other guys that I'm looking forward to seeing, Vasily Podkolzin. I thought he had a really good year in Edmonton this past season. I thought that was a really sneaky good ad. He's got first-round pick pedigree, so looking forward to seeing what he can do. And I'm also looking forward to seeing a full season of Trent Frederick. Was a little surprising seeing him get an 8-year deal, but I think he's a great player, and they obviously really like him in Edmonton and think he can be really effective in a full season in an Oilers sweater. So, Oilers number 2 all day long.
What did it cost Detroit to get John Gibson, and why didn't Edmonton do that? Like, I know Stuart Skinner gets a lot of hate, but he would be a good tandem goalie. Like he'd be a fine backup, right? The problem is they have him and Calvin Pickard, the castaway from Toronto. Like Pickard, yeah, sure, can come in and
he's played well
in unorthodox ways. He can get wins and stuff, but I mean, you just look at the raw numbers. Like his goal saved above expected last year, -10. Like it's just, there are better options out there. And it didn't even need to be a John Gibson, but why don't you show the best player in the world that you're committed to filling holes in your team? I don't know. To me, it's wild to me that they didn't get a goalie. Overpay for one. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick to get a 2nd, a 4th, and Peter Mrazek.
Yeah.
You telling me
that was the sweetener, Peter Mrazek.
You telling me you couldn't do that? I don't know, but they could have a new goalie December 1st. We'll see. I'm just going to hint at that, and we'll cross that bridge if it happens.
That is
Edmonton's
really true.
Got to get off to a good start too. That's really important. The last couple of years, they have not gotten off to great starts. And I think 2 years ago when they took Florida to Game 7, I think they started off the year 2-7-1 or something like that, and we knew that they were going to turn it around. I think they
fired Woodcroft.
They fired Woodcroft, exactly. Bring in Chris Knobloch, and I think they won 14 games in a row at one point. But got to get off to a good start, especially with how McDavid is feeling right now, and sort of the bit of uncertainty around his extension status and all of that, and how angry he was after this past year's Stanley Cup final. They got to get off to a good start. That's important. Okay, Chad, number 3 in this division.
Okay, number 3. I think this is also a safe one. Whoever has number 4 and 5, you guys are going to have the difficult job. But I'm going with LA here in the number 3 hole. I think that is a pretty safe pick. LA, my one concern with them, as I already kind of alluded to, is their back end. They overpaid for Edmondson and Cece, which both moves I didn't love. Both
Brian
former
Dumoulin
Leafs
as well.
and Dumoulin as well. But the former two are former Leafs, and I have a lot of experience watching those guys on the ice, and it's only years and years after they played for Toronto, so I can't imagine they've gotten any better. I didn't understand that move when they signed it, but all things considered, I think this team is really good. Like, I actually do think this team is really good. They got Corey Perry, which I know he's injured right now, but that'll be a fun one. That'll mean that, they'll probably get to the finals and lose this year, but that would be good. At least that means they probably beat Edmonton for once in the first round. So that would be good for them. Kemper last year, I was looking, was like a 5th or 6th highest goal saved above expected. He had a really good year last year. So if they could get
like a
similar
922 save percentage or something like that.
If they could have similar goaltending out of him, that would be fantastic. And yeah, the team as a whole allowed the second fewest goals against, and they really don't give up a lot of chances either. So I think if they can score a few more goals, they'll be A-okay to finish in the 3rd spot here. Probably match up with the Oilers in the first round again. We'll see who wins that one, but
That'd
I know who I'm putting my money on.
5th year in a row, which would be crazy.
Yeah. Great playoff format, Gary. Thanks.
Yeah.
No, don't want to change it though.
Yeah.
Chad, I thought this was going to be where we had a point of contention today. I thought you were going to be like, oh, LA Kings 5th.
No, I think LA's pretty good still.
I think the two of you hated on them a bit last year from what I remember, but I don't know. You listen to the episode, you tell me. But yeah, because I had LA in 3rd as well.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I see. And it's just consistency. That's what you see in this team, and that's what you get out of this team. I'm really excited to see a full season out of Kuzmenko in LA. I think he really found himself when he, reverted back to what he was when he moved to this team late in the season last year. The rest of the guys, like this top 6, just consistent goal scoring and responsibility defensively, all of them. So it's just, I really like the forward group. Yes, there are the question marks on the back end, but I think you do have a lot of guys who just play it safe. You don't have to worry about them on the back end. I really liked Brian Dumoulin's 19 games in New Jersey last year. I liked what I saw of him. I think that's a great ad. And I really like how they're handling the Brandt Clarke situation here so far. They've kind of, put it out there that he could be on the chopping block. He's a trade piece. But it seems like they're going to let him prove himself here first, give him a real shot, a real kick at the can. And if he doesn't impress, then they move him. That's a big blue chip piece. If he does impress, then you stick him around and he's, maybe your Drew Doughty of the future. But I would think it'd be quite impressive if they can move him for a guy like Rasmus Anderson. And then this team has really turned a corner and really looks like a cup contender. Darcy Kemper, you talked about it, Chad. He was a stud last year. As long as he can stay healthy, and I think now that they can manage his workload with Forsberg as a backup, I like what I see here in LA.
Yeah, I really like Forsberg as a backup too. I think that makes a lot of sense. And also one thing, Hart, before you chime in here, best goal differential in the NHL last year. So we know that goal differential, there are typically 16 teams with a positive and 16 teams with a negative. Not exactly, but, it's usually the playoff teams with a positive goal differential and the non-playoff teams with a negative one. And that is pretty true.
And the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, that's pretty true, except for the Washington Capitals a couple of years ago. But yeah, so best in the league last year. I didn't know until I just looked at it.
I didn't know that either. That's a good thing to point out for sure. Yeah, LA, very consistent. I kind of wrestled with this for a little bit. I think the only reason why I didn't want to pick the Kings in 3rd is because I don't want to see another Edmonton-LA matchup in the first round. But we certainly could get it. And by our own predictions, we will get it again. So it'll be interesting to see how the season plays out and what the playoff matchups look like in round one next April, especially with Ken Holland, former Oilers GM, now at the helm in LA. And so, shocker that he signs his old buddies Cody Ceci and Corey Perry to be a part of this team. But they're a good team. Really love the forward group. Adrian Kempe, I think, is a player that doesn't get enough credit around the league. Looking forward to Brandt Clarke taking a step. Big years from guys like LaFerriere and Byfield again. So this team is a nice mix for sure.
Yeah. Okay, who's up next for fourth? This is where it gets tricky, I think.
Yes. So back to me for number 4, boys. And this is where it really gets tricky. And I'm excited to kind of open up the debate a little bit here. And there's really a group of 3 teams that I think could slide into this 4th spot. But I am going with a team that I'm particularly high on going into this season. They took a big step last year, a 21-point improvement from the year before. They've got a new head coach. I'm going with the Anaheim Ducks in this 4th spot. I think that the moves that they made in the offseason by Pat Verbeek signals that they want to be a playoff team. I think Chris Kreider is a really good bet after just a really tough and toxic year with the New York Rangers. And there's a lot of Rangers connections on this team, which I think really helps. Guys like Strome and Frank Vetrano, who are still really effective players. I think Mikael Granlund is an excellent add as well. They solved 2 lingering issues in Gibson and Trevor Zegras, which I think is big as well. Jackson Lacombe is an absolute stud. I mean, what a step he took last year in his career on the back end for this team. I really like the Ducks. I think they've got a great mix of youth and veterans. The only thing left to do is get a contract done with Mason McTavish, who's going to be a big part of this thing moving forward. I really like Anaheim, guys, and I've got them in the 4th spot, maybe going out on a bit of a limb here, but really high on this team now with Joel Quenneville behind the bench heading into the season.
Yeah, that's pretty bold, taking them in 4th. But I had them in 5th, so
okay.
I don't think that's the craziest thing in the world. That little step. You kind of nailed all the notes on them here. I look back at my documents that I keep, and I always take notes for each season, and I could have just hit Control-C, Control-V for Anaheim for the 5th year in a row here. Just going to say, a lot of young talent up front. They just need to take a step forward. I think this is the year for them, blah, 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 blah. Same shit every single time with Anaheim. But I think that this could actually be the year. You know, they've surrounded that young talent with veteran guys who are going to show them how to do it. They've kind of found their guys on the back end. I always allude to them being a defense factory in Anaheim, but they always trade them away. Lacombe and Minchkov, that's their guys now. They've found it. It's perfect. So I like what I'm seeing there. There's a 1-2 punch in net, like always in Anaheim, but new guy this time. So I like what I see at Anaheim, and I could certainly see them in 4th place.
Yeah, I did not have them in 4th place. And Case, I really agreed with what you're saying with the copy and paste, because as you guys know, I listened to last year's episode and we talked about this team, and it just kind of sounded like the same thing. And I just don't know if I'm sold. I had them down in 6th. I did wrestle with it.
Wow.
So I don't know about 4th. I looked at the stats from last year, and I know they took a step, but the stats tell a different story. They were bottom 5 in scoring last year. They can't put the puck in the net. I know they added Kreider. I know they added Granlund. Are those guys going to move the needle that much to turn them into, from a bottom 5 team in scoring to a top 15, top 16 team? I just don't know if it's enough. Of course, you're relying on steps from guys like Carlson and Gauthier and whatever, and McTavish as well. But I just don't know if it's enough. And then also, they absolutely bleed chances too. They allowed the most expected goals against last season in the entire NHL. The only reason they didn't allow the most goals against last season in the NHL is because both of their goalies were really, really good. Dostal being the better of the two and Gibson being really good as well. But like we talked about, now he's gone. So what? They've got Mrazek and Husso, right? Those are the two other guys. So like, is that enough? I don't know. Are you going to play Dostal 70 games? Probably not. So I just don't know if they've done enough. I don't think any goalie plays 72 games. I don't think any goalie should play 70 games anymore, because you see what happens to Hellebuck every postseason. He's the only guy who plays over 65 every year consistently.
Do you think Anaheim is thinking about the postseason? I think they're thinking about getting to the postseason, and that's their postseason.
I know. Listen, maybe Quenneville as a coach will do something here. I think Anaheim is the sexy pick this year. I think
it is.
I've seen so many analysts and so many podcasters taking Anaheim to make the playoffs this year. I'm not sold yet. I'm really not. But if they're in fourth on our list, that's fine. I just want it to be known that I think they're sexy, they're appealing, but I just don't think they're quite good enough yet.
Well, we were kind of all over the place on that one. And at the end of the day, we have to make a group decision here. So say fifth. We'll meet in the middle.
No, you picked them fourth. Anaheim. So then we'll go next pick at number 5. Just know you got to stand on business throughout the year, though.
When
they're in the bottom of the league.
Okay.
You got to stand by your pick.
Case number 5.
In the 5th spot, I know we were too high on them last year. Didn't expect the implosion, but I'm looking at a bounce back season for Vancouver here. I think we're bound to see it. They're kind of tying up a lot of the loose ends here. They've traded away the guys that were causing issues. They locked up Brock Besser. We all thought he'd be gone, but he's still going to stick around. So things are looking better. I like the forward core. I think that there's a lot of guys that are still looking to prove themselves, but have the ability to do so. Evander Kane is an interesting ad for a team that is notorious with locker room issues, but I think in a different system than Edmonton, he's going to really shine. So I do think that on the ice, that's a great ad. The D-core is probably the best we've seen in BC in a long time. And Demko appears to be healthy at the moment, which is a big thing for this team. But I think that they've also grown a lot of confidence in Kevin Lankinen. And if Demko's gone, it's not like the end of the world like it used to be in Vancouver. Health is the key for this team this season. And if they stay healthy, I think that they'd be in 4th, but on our ranking here, they'll be 5th.
Mm-hmm. I had Vancouver in 5th. Yes, I did. Just checking my notes. I had them in 5th. So I aligned with this ranking. I guess I just didn't have Anaheim that high, but have Vancouver in this spot. I don't know. I didn't have much to say about Vancouver other than what you kind of just alluded to, Casey, in net. You know, Demko, sure, when he's on and healthy, he's a world beater, but it's kind of been a long time since he's been healthy and good at the same time, you know? So, and we know that he has this issue that is lingering, and he's just going to have to learn to play through it, right? Like that's been the whole story with him, is can he learn to play through this pain? And who knows? But like you said, Case, Lankinen was great last year, and they, you know, obviously they signed him to that extension, $4.5 million for 5 years. You know, they like him, so they committed to him, and it's because he was good. That contract didn't come out of nowhere. I like their D a lot. I think their D is really good. Quinn Hughes has a chance to win the Norris Trophy every single season from here on out until the end of his career, probably, because he'll probably still be moving like the wind when he's 40. I just don't know about the forward group, and it's. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty common opinion after they traded JT Miller. They maybe traded the wrong guy in that situation. Maybe should have kept Miller, the engine, and traded, you know, Pettersson, the guy who you don't know what you're going to get, what type of player. You know, a few years ago, he was MVP caliber at both ends of the ice. And then, you know, he's had his crazy ups and downs, and it seems like his confidence is the only thing driving his game, whether it's a good game or a bad game. So hopefully he comes into camp this year confident and ready to assert himself as a leader. I have heard people say that he's heavier this year. He came into camp, I think, 13 pounds heavier. and looks really good. But that being said, like, everyone looks good in the first week of camp, right? In these development skates and whatnot. So I don't really know what to believe. I think the 5th spot is good for Vancouver. Wouldn't surprise me if they're a bit better or a bit worse, though. Like, it's a team that I can't pinpoint it, and I'm so wishy-washy on them, and that's the reason why.
13 pounds heavier, all neck.
Yeah.
Couple things I wanted to point out that and just touch on. Kevin Lankinen, what a story of betting on yourself, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Like he took that contract in Vancouver last year, $875,000, which we all thought was crazy. It sounded like he was going to hold out for a better contract. Took it. Now he's making $4.5 million, locked up for a while. Like, that's good for his agent, or good for himself, or maybe if he's like Mitch Marner, good for his dad. But the D-core guy I wanted to point out is, you know, in the NBA, they have the 6th man award.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Filip Hronek needs to win the 6th man award for the NHL. I don't know what you'd call it, but like, Quinn Hughes is that Norris Trophy guy every single year, but it's so much easier when you can pair up with a guy like Phil Hronek that you just can absolutely trust and rely on every single night. So just giving him his flowers.
100%. We talked about it when they got him in the first place, and we were saying, oh my God, that's the perfect fit. And then it's been 3 years now, and it's been perfect ever since.
The back end does look better. I will say that. Adding in Marcus Pettersson, I think was a nice addition for sure. Crazy how there's 3 Petterssons on this roster now, and 2 of them are named, Elias Pettersson. Obviously, their names are pronounced differently, but yeah, that's wild. First year for Adam Foote as the head coach of this team, a guy who Quinn Hughes thinks very highly of. So if you want to keep Quinn Hughes happy, that is a good start. But this is a big year for them, and I have them in the 5th spot as well. I think that's fair. I think they'll be playing meaningful games late in the year if everything goes right. Chad, I'm with you. I do have some questions about the forward group. Are they going to be able to score enough? You know, Besser and DeBrusk, they're great players, but in my opinion, they can be extremely hot and cold when it comes to scoring. And, you know, how is Evander Kane going to fit in? Can Connor Garland have another year like he did last year? And we'll see what some of their guys can do at the bottom of the lineup. Kiefer Sherwood, who led the league in hits last year, great ad for this team. Does he have a little more scoring in him? They obviously lost Dakota Joshua, who just had a really tough season last year. So we'll see how the forward group can do. But there's no one bigger than Pettersson in this forward group who needs to come back and bounce back and have a good season after a couple of tough years in Vancouver. And I'm curious to see if Lekkerimaki gets into this lineup at some point as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think he should.
I look at the forward group, and I think they have one true play driver. Like, I don't know if that's unfair to say, but I think it's Pettersson. But he's unreliable, right? Like, when he's on, he's a great play driver, but I just don't know if they have any like real line drivers. Like Besser, great player, but does he drive a line? I don't think so. You know, and DeBrusk, same thing. Evander Kane, same thing. It's like a lot of good players there, a lot of guys who can finish, honestly, even like Garland, but I just don't know if they have play drivers, and especially up the middle, very thin up the middle. Like, it's Pettersson, Hedl, drops off.
Yeah, and can Hedl stay healthy? I mean,
exactly.
There are question marks with your top 2 centers. I mean, there are other teams like that around the league as well, but not really the position where you want to have question marks at, but we'll see. But all that being said, I think 5th is a fair spot for this team. Chad, number 6.
Okay, number 6, I had this team ranked a little bit higher than you guys, probably. Shocker. It's because I'm a bit of a super fan. It's the Seattle Kraken. And I just think that...
Man, I thought you were going to say Calgary.
I thought it was Calgary too.
It's not. It's Seattle, and I think the main reason why is they've chosen Joey Daccord as their starter. He was really good last year. They're not doing the whole Philip Grubauer song and dance. He's a true backup now. Joey Daccord is the guy getting invited to the Olympic team tryouts for Team USA. Like, he's a stud. Plus, I think it's another year of development for a guy like Matty Beniers, guy like Shane Wright. Beniers had a bit of a down year last year, and Wright is still kind of finding his way. But I like what they have going on up front. I honestly do. And I like it more than Calgary, who I think is going to be selling off this year. I really do. Like, especially a guy like Rasmus Anderson. We already know that he's going to be gone probably by the end of the season. His captain confirmed as much in an interview overseas or whatever. So that's one of the main reasons why I didn't put Calgary higher. But Seattle, they added Capo Caco, they've got Tolvanen, they've got Marchment, McCann. Like, they've just got guys who can possibly pan out. I don't know if I'm going to be betting on it. Their forward group still scares me a little bit, but I don't know. I think they have, like, is Vancouver's forward group that much better than Seattle's? I don't think so. I really don't. And then when you look at the back end, I think they've got the makings of a true, bubble team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're still, ways away from that, unfortunately, because, it seemed like they were going to be good when they came into the league, made the playoffs, beat Colorado that year. But then, since then, I don't think they've been back since that first year. Right. So, but I don't know. I like Seattle more than Calgary, and that's why I've got them in the 6th spot. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's you're wrong.
You're
a notorious fan. I'm a notorious hater, but I had them in 7th. They can't score goals, and they're going to continue to not score goals. The difference between Vancouver and a very similar forward core is that Vancouver has a 100-point scorer on their team and a 40-goal scorer on their team that are like inconsistent, and maybe they're that and maybe they're not. Seattle just doesn't even have that option of like, oh, maybe he is a 100-point guy still. There's just not, it doesn't exist on the team. So I think they're missing that completely. They're going to continue to struggle to score goals.
But hold on though. It's not like they're dead last in goals for. They were 16th last year in the NHL, and Calgary was 29th.
They're like, okay, expected goals percentage.
They're mid.
Like, they're 5th last in the league.
Well, because they gave up a lot of chances, and their goalies were. I mean, when Daccord wasn't playing, their goalies, aka Philip Grubauer, got eaten alive.
They're not scoring enough goals for their defensive capability of this team.
Agreed.
And I think that's going to continue. So I think that every other team just kind of, like, every other team that I have ahead of them took a step forward, and Seattle's just kind of more the same here. I like the goaltending situation, though. You pointed that out, and I'm going to ride on that. Joey Daccord's great. I'm glad that they don't have that question anymore. But I think the guys that they're expecting to get it done are just getting a bit older here, in Jaden Schwartz and Jordan Eberle. And I've even heard that they're shopping Jared McCann, who was their franchise leading scorer. So there's a lot going on there. The guys they brought in, Marchment and Gaudreau, it's just more of the same.
Yeah. Are they going to sell though? Like, I don't think they're going to sell. And I think Calgary is. That's where I see the difference between these two teams.
Seattle should be selling.
I think, like, I have like a 2-point difference in Calgary and Seattle. I give Calgary a bit of a nod because of their big guys. Yeah,
that's fair. And listen, we're arguing over one spot here. I did have them higher, but we are settling on 6 here. So if we're talking 6 or 7, then, what are we doing here? We're close, right?
I had Seattle in 7 too. I just don't really get the direction of this team, and I just don't really think they have enough up front, especially great goaltending, decent back end. But I think them making the playoffs a couple of years ago and taking out Colorado in the first round, I think was probably the worst thing that could have happened to them, because they thought that they were further along than they were, and we're kind of just looking at a middling team, in my opinion. And I just think that Calgary has more young talent coming through and is going to take a step in that regard. So that's why I had Seattle in 7 as well.
I'm going to disagree with you in that I don't think this team should be selling at all, because they have a top 3 prospect core in the entire league. Like, I think the World Juniors was 25% Seattle Kraken players.
Yeah.
So they've drafted very well, despite, maybe finishing a little too high in their first couple seasons. And they did great with what picks they had. And they've got a lot in the cupboard, so I think they should be buying, if anything.
Yeah, that honestly, that was my kind of thought on this team, is that I think they've been too passive. Like, I don't think, like, Harp, I know you said that making the playoffs for them was the worst thing to happen to them because, it gave them a false sense of hope. But I don't know if I agree with that, because I feel like they've just been so passive since then. They've really done nothing. Like, they added Montour, sure. Who else did they add? Chandler Stevenson down the middle as well. Overpaid for both of those guys, probably, just to get some, bodies. But I don't know. I feel like they haven't been as aggressive as other teams who are trying to improve. So that's my criticism of Seattle. I honestly think that they have the bones of what could be the structure of a good team one day. But I mean, they're clearly not there yet. We're talking about them in 6th or 7th spot here, but I don't know. I think they need to be a little more aggressive, but they've also drafted well.
I'll reel it in a little bit here. Like, I do think that they can surprise us. I think that all of Vancouver, Calgary, and Seattle can surprise us in 100%. What direction they go this season.
And Anaheim too.
Yep.
Well, I think Anaheim, it's going to be less of a surprise. I think that they just should be good. It'd be more surprising if they're bad. Whereas Seattle, I can see it either way.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I agree. And they do have a lot of good prospects coming, especially Berkeley Catton. I think he's going to be a really good player for them for a long time.
Jager Furcus, Carson Rakoff, Nicholas Coco, the goalie. Lots of guys coming.
Jake O'Brien, their first rounder this year.
That's right. Yeah.
Definitely. Boys in the Booth champion, Edward Chalet.
Yeah,
freaking love that guy.
That's right.
Yeah. Edard.
Yeah. Remember we saw him walking in the Memorial Center?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. All right.
That's so sick. I guess Calgary Flames in number 7 here. And, the Flames definitely surprised everybody. I think last year, no one was expecting this team to be any good. They just missed the playoffs by, a few points. And I really like the fact that they got a couple of their young core guys locked up long-term this summer, and American players as well, because the narrative around Calgary for so long has been about, guys not wanting to commit there and stay there. And the biggest one is obviously when Matthew Tkachuk chose to not stay in Calgary. But I think getting guys like Coronado and Wolf locked up long-term, I think is huge. Also a long-term deal for Kevin Ball, who has fit in there really well. They're obviously going to be losing Rasmus Andersson at some point, but that's good. Like, continue to just be competitive, win as many games as you can, and continue to just stock those cupboards for years to come. So I had Calgary in 6th. I think they could finish anywhere between 4 and 7, but for this sake, we'll go with them in number 7, since kind of dealing with Seattle there. It's going to be an interesting year for Calgary. And we mentioned the number one thing a few minutes ago. Can they score more goals? That's going to be a huge question mark with this team once again. We're not expecting Nazem Kadri again, who's on the wrong side of 30, to score 35 goals again. I mean, he had just a terrific year. What can Jonathan Huberdeau do after finally figuring it out this past season in Calgary? There's some question marks there, but I love what Craig Conroy has done and continues to do, and there's a clear direction now for this team. So again, for the sake of argument, we'll have them in 7 here, have them a little bit higher, and we'll see what the Flames are able to do.
Yeah, honestly, I think 7's probably fair at the end of the day. I had them 6, 7 teetered on between them and Seattle, but I think they're still going to be a competitive team, just like we saw last year. And I don't even know if that's the right thing for them. Maybe they should be tanking a bit harder, but I think there's a few guys, mid-20s that are still trying to prove their worth in the NHL, and guys like Farabee that they brought in, and Frost as well, and Sharon Govich. So I like those guys teetering and kind of expecting them to be even better. Same as Connor Zary. I think the sky is the limit for that guy. Yeah. But I just think that they're lacking a middle 6 on this team, and that's kind of glaring. The D-core has really taken a bit of a step back compared to what we've seen in the past, and it's going to fall off a cliff stepping back if they lose Rasmus Anderson and not bring in a competent defenseman to replace him. The big wild card here is Dustin Wolf can win hockey games and had a very nice contract. So he's my wild card, and he could have these guys reach as high as 5th if they really get in a groove like they did last year. I think they started 6-0 last year or something like that. Yeah. If they do something like that again, then we're going to be looking like asses once again.
Yeah, Wolf is the true wild card because, young goalie who proved everything he could have at the AHL level, back-to-back goalie of the year in the AHL, comes into the NHL, is pretty good right away. And, we've been waiting for him to come to the league, waiting. And then he comes in and, he's pretty good. Turns out he's the real deal. Back-to-back, goalie of the year in the AHL. That actually means something. So he is a wild card. I just don't know how many games he's going to be able to play. Like, that's the thing with goalies, right? Like, he'll probably only play 55 to 60 games. And then who do you have in net when he's not there? Is it going to be as good? Probably not. Add that to the fact that last year, Calgary scored the 4th fewest amount of goals in the entire league. Only San Jose, Nashville, and Anaheim scored fewer goals than Calgary last year. So unless something drastically changes, I think 7 is the perfect spot for Calgary. That defense is just tough to look at compared to D-cores that we've seen there in the past, especially case like, you mentioned, and we've kind of been talking about, if Rasmus Anderson is on his way out, then it's Weegar and I guess Ball. And then, boy, a lot of guys, like just a lot of guys there. So it's not the same team it used to be, but that's by design. Like, they are trying to rebuild here sort of on the fly. I don't think they're going to tear it right down to the studs, but I think they've been doing a pretty good job of it. It'll be a couple more years until they're, truly competitive again. But with that being said, like, I don't think anybody in the league is trying to be bad, except for maybe Pittsburgh, like we've talked about. So Calgary, it's not like they're going to be a 50-point team. Like, they could easily be a 75-point team and miss the playoffs and finish 6th or 7th. So I think where we have them here at number 7 makes total sense. But like we kind of talked about, could move up, probably won't move down.
By the way,
going back to the sorry, Case, go ahead.
I think today they traded for a backup goalie, Chad. So,
did they? Who'd they get?
Prosvetov.
Oh yeah, I did see that. I did see Prosvetov because also like they have Cooley kid in the minors. Yeah. So, but I mean, Prosvetov, like, how many games is he going to play this year? Like, that's
looked pretty Wolf good is in good. The KHL last season.
That's fair.
6'5".
So was Harry Sateri.
Yeah.
You know who that is? Claimed off waivers by the Kachina.
Yeah, that's true. That's a name. One more thing with Calgary, like the back end, they've got some good defensemen coming. One of them being Zane Parekh.
Yeah.
He's got a chance to make this team, I think, out of camp, because after, like, you look at that lineup projection, they've got Miramanov, who was a healthy scratch for a lot of the time last season. They've got him on their second pair right now on the right side. So, Parekh could be a nice upgrade there, and he's got an opportunity to make this team. Rustevich is another guy who they're really high on. Came over in the trade with Vancouver for Elias Lindholm. Poirier, too, like you see on the board there. So
yeah,
we'll see. And I mean, also, like, I would love Calgary to really sell off and, like, kind of tank a bit because, not this year, but the year after in 2027, we know the guy who's coming, who's going to be, one of the next great defensemen we all believe in the NHL, and that's Landon Dupont of the Everett Silvertips, Calgary, Alberta native, by the way, too. How good would he look in a Flames jersey? However, don't think that's the Flames' plan. I think they want to stay competitive, rebuild on the fly, like you said, Case, and be kind of a, sort of a contending team when that new building arrives in Calgary.
Is that 2027?
Yep.
That building's coming? Nice.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they have to be practicing in the rink March of 2027. That's like what Gary Bettman set on them.
Oh,
yeah.
They'll be fined, I guess. I don't know, but that's what I heard. So.
Or they'll tear it down and say, try again, rebuild.
I think that was the price tag that they put on it. They've really expedited construction now because of that.
Okay, number 8. Who is it to?
Number 8,
it's me.
I think it's Case. Yeah.
Who are you going to pick, Case?
Who am I going to pick? Well, insert generic mumbo jumbo about young talent and future and patience for the San Jose Sharks. They're going to be fun to watch, but they're definitely going to be bad. A lot of young talent here. It's a bright future ahead. I like how they're rebuilding the right way, blah, 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 blah. San Jose Sharks.
Yeah, it's San Jose in last. I don't think they did really anything to give us the impression that they're going to be better this year. They're just hoping that their young guys continue to develop. Eklund, Celebrini, Smith, maybe Michael Misa. They just signed him. Who knows where he's going to play this year? Is he committed somewhere? He did, right? Harp? He committed somewhere, Michael Misa? Or am I mixing him up with somebody?
I think you're mixing him up.
That is a good question.
Okay, well, we can figure that out. But the point is, so many young, talented players here that are, they're hoping that are going to take a step this year. Askarov is another one between the pipes. They now have a trio in net of Askarov, Nedeljkovic, and Carey Price. Boys, not too bad. I think Price straps them up this year or what? For San Jose for the deal.
They signed Misa to an entry-level contract 4 days ago.
Yes, I did see that. I just didn't know if he had said that he's going to play somewhere, like if he's going to play in the NHL or what. But
I thought you were saying commit as in NCAA, and I'm like, well, impossible now.
No, sorry. I was saying, is he like? Yeah, I guess that word means something. That I should have chose my words carefully.
Well, that was what he like. The rumor was he was going to commit to NCAA, but since he signed the contract, it's done.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and even though you can get paid in NCAA now, you're not making $975 or whatever he signed for. So
I'd love to see him make this team, and he's definitely got a shot. Didn't he just have like 4 points in his first game in the prospects tournament with the Sharks? I think I saw that. So good looking player, and that Celebrini, man, he's a stud and could be a sexy pick for Canada's Olympic team.
Yeah, I feel like the jury was out on the competition between Celebrini and Bedard for a while, but I think now the decision's made, right? Like, who would you rather start a franchise with, Celebrini or Bedard? Are you guys all picking Celebrini?
I don't think that decision's been made yet.
No,
for
I
me.
mean, I feel like it was a preposterous question to ask to begin with, because it was like, well, obviously Bedard, but then after the last couple of years, I don't know, Celebrini's looked pretty damn good, and Bedard's been pretty average. But I guess it's hard to judge when both of their teams are so trash. But
yeah,
it is going to continue to be a debate, and that'll start back up this year for sure. But I still think it's too early yet. And but boy, oh boy, like I don't think any of us expected Celebrini to be this good out of the gate and to be so responsible at both ends of the ice, and the amount of puck battles that he wins and all of that, and to already be on Team Canada's radar as well after his first season. I mean, that's just incredible. So what a stud this kid is, and the perfect guy for San Jose to build their team around, a Junior Sharks alum, and just excellent. But yeah, it's going to be another year of development for them, and they'll be in that conversation again for the number one pick. And could you imagine if they end up landing that again? Boy, oh boy. Like,
man,
wow.
I think it's deserved, man. They're doing a rebuild the right way.
They are. Mike Greer's done a great
5 years
job.
of just crap, but they've got a lot of great pieces and a very, very exciting future. So it's going to be nice to have the San Jose Sharks back as a competitive team.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Might not be this year, but in the next few anyway. I am surprised that they moved Granlund, though. Like I thought Granlund was going to factor into their long-term plans. I guess not. Like, he was so good last season.
He was.
So it kind of surprised me. And
yeah, you got to cash in on that, though.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. At some point, you got to pick some guys to go with, right? Not everyone can be young, but they've got Toffoli and Wenberg, I guess, and so makes sense. But that one surprised me. Granlund getting traded.
I'm with you. I'm with you as well. But like Kay said, you kind of have to cash in on these guys while you can. And I mean, Mike Greer has been one of the best general managers at that over these last couple of years, in my opinion. Like, getting guys for next to nothing, for taking on their cap hits, and then flipping them for some serious assets. And he did it again after Jake Wallman, for whatever reason, goes to San Jose from Detroit for future considerations.
Yeah.
Yzerman might have been on drugs for that one. Not sure. And then Wallman gets flipped at the deadline to Edmonton for a first-round pick. Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. They've been pretty good at managing their assets there. We'll just have to see, like, I think it's easy to tear it down, right? Like, of course, it's not easy. You have to be opportunistic and you have to know what you're doing, but it's easier to tear it down than build it back up. So we'll see if San Jose can become relevant in the next few years. But yeah, like we said, picking them 8th in this division, it's not going to be this year.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, fellas, that does it for our Pacific Division projections in terms of the standings for this upcoming 25-26 NHL season. It's been a long, quiet summer in terms of off-ice moves, but things are really picking back up. Prospect games going on, preseason and regular season on the horizon. Hockey's back, and so are we. And it's just great. Happy to be doing this again. Thank you for listening to episode 246 of the pod. We will talk to you again next week. Good to be back. Hope you had a great
Just
summer.
in case my fiance is listening, I did have a great summer. I got engaged. It was awesome. Wow.
True. We didn't say that.
Yeah.
Forgot to mention that earlier. I'm
You
going to
did
get shot
not.
for not
Oh, you left the
saying,
biggest thing out of all.
oh,
Hey, and
yeah.
Case, again, before we wrap up, congrats, dude. That's
Thanks.
a huge life move, and I just hope Rebecca knows what she's doing.
I wasn't sure if that was
Congrats,
intentional,
man.
leaving it out, but yeah, congrats, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right,
Awesome.
talk to you next week, fellas.
All right.